My name is Ken Gerard, and as you can see, I'm a senior BI consultant at Kohera. Today, like the other sessions in the past, again, we have a very limited content and a lot of demo today, so I suggest we get started as soon as possible. I'd like to start with introducing the Power BI family members, and in earlier sessions I always used this slide when I spoke about the Power BI family as a part of the Microsoft Office 365 enterprise offering. Power BI has always been a suite of tools, as you can see on this slide. Most of the tools have always been add-ons to Excel, and the last element can be perceived as an extension to SharePoint Online. I found this visualization online, and I believe it shows perfectly how all BI family members are related. You just have to follow the flow to understand how they work together. First, we use Power Query to collect and structure the data we want. And this data can originate from different sources like Excel or websites, databases. Actually, too many options to list here. Then we bring all this data together in a model using Power Pivot. In such a model, we define how the results from different Power Queries are related to each other, and we also can add calculations that can give you more insight in the data. To bring the data to the user, we have several options. The first, the true Power BI way of presenting, is using Power View. With Power View, it's possible to build great interactive dashboards. Next to Power View, there's also Power Map. Actually, you can also use Bing Maps with Power View and plot your data onto the maps, but Power Map goes a step further and gives you the ability to create video-like visualizations of geographical data. Of course, you can also use the traditional pivot tables or pivot charts in Excel. They have become very powerful, provide a lot of options, and a lot of people are very familiar with these capabilities. And finally, we also have the Q&A. It's a bit like a Google-like interface to your Power Pivot model if you publish it to a Power BI site. But important in the development of Power BI has been the dependency on Excel. For some people, this lowered the bar to start working with Power BI. But for a lot of people, this also was a source of frustration. They saw all these wonderful capabilities in webinars like this, but had no opportunity to start using Power BI because they didn't have the latest version of Excel or they didn't have enterprise license. But this was the situation up to now. Because the core elements, highlighted in red on this slide, are now also available as a standalone application, Power BI Desktop. Power BI Desktop is a game changer in the Microsoft universe and in the world of self-service BI. It has the capabilities of the existing Power BI elements, but it is standalone and, very important, completely free. Regular updates make sure you always have the latest features at your disposal. These updates also contain new connectors that are on time. In the demo later on, you'll see some of the connectors. The last point is the icing on the cake. You have to create a Power BI user, which you can also do for free, and then you get the possibility to upload whatever you created. This free version of the Power BI portal gives you a lot of capabilities that are sufficient for most users. In certain scenarios you need more, and then the paying variant might be able to help you out. But today we only focus on what is freely available. So, what are the elements in Power BI Desktop? First, there is the Power Query part. In Power BI Desktop it's just called Query, where you can clean, merge, transform and shape your data. So you can select a source and play around with your data to get in a form that you can work with later on. Next, we have a relationships tab in the Power BI desktop application. And here we have a view that is similar to Power Pivot in Excel. Here you can create a model with relationships and have the ability to hide tables and fields for your reports, for your user who doesn't need to see all those fields that are only technical fields or have no additional value. The next, another tab is the Data tab. Again, similar to the data view in the Power Pivot screen in Excel. And here you can add measures by using DAX formulas, or you can add columns by using DAX formulas. And finally, of course, we have the reports. These are very similar to Power View, so they're very interactive. But here are some additional visualizations. You can already see in the screenshot I took from one of the reports some of the new abilities. This was a very, very fast presentation because I want to focus on the demo. I think that has the most value for most of the people here. The last element, and hopefully I can get to it in our demo, is the Power BI portal. There is a publish button in the Power BI desktop, and if you push this button, and if you have a Power BI user, you can publish the report that you created locally to your own Power BI portal. And there you can manage your reports, create dashboards, and share dashboards. So, time for our demo. This is our Power BI desktop application. Nothing much, but let's get started and see what we can do with this beautiful tool. There are a lot of sources we can get data from. This is the complete list you see here. I hope everybody can read the sources we can access. On the top of the list are the usual suspects like Excel and databases, text files, CSV files. And if we go to the bottom, we get more exotic options. And these are the connectors I talked about earlier, and new connectors are added on a regular basis. For the demo today, I'm going to stick to some of the more common sources. Only maybe the first one is a bit more exotic. I'm going to start with the Microsoft Azure Marketplace. If you want to use the Marketplace, the only thing you need is a Microsoft Live account that is registered on the Marketplace. If you have one, you can select some of the datasets that are available there. And for our demo here, I'm going to use the date stream and use the basic calendar English. I'm going to edit it, and now the query part of the Power BI desktop opens. And we can start playing with this dataset. First and for all, I'm going to rename it to calendar. I'm also going to rename it this field to date. You can do this by just double clicking on the column and rename. While I'm here, I'm also going to change the data type, because now we have a date time, and actually this is just a date. For our demo, I don't need all the years, so I'm going to filter the rows. I'm only going to use 2013 to 2015. For people who haven't worked with Power Query yet in Excel, on the right side here, you can see for every action I do, an extra line is added. This means an extra step is added, and every time you refresh the data, your data gets pulled from the source and goes through all these steps, so you can reuse it every time with the latest version of the data. I'm also going to add a column here. Add custom column, because I'm going to need it later on. And to do this, I'm just going to write a very simple formula. Year key plus month of year. And we have our new extra column. The only thing I'm going to do now is change the date type here, because I don't want it to be a decimal number. I want it to be a text. Why? Because we're only going to use year as a filter later on. We're not going to sum the year values, so you can just use it as a text value, text data type. That's it for the calendar. Let's add some extra sources. I'm gonna pull some data from my SQL Server. Okay. And we get a list of all the tables that are in this database. I'm going to select all of them and pull them inside my solution here. Immediately we see we get a list of datasets with all the information that we have on our SQL Server. We don't have to change anything here, but if we want, it would be possible, of course. I just need two more sources. I need information from an Excel file, my actuals, you select the Excel sheet and you click OK, and you see that Power BI already adds some steps by itself to make sure you can start working with it immediately. And I'm just going to add one more source. That's a CSV file, my sales targets. Right, that's this file. And here I have to do some additional work, but you will see it's very easy to do and will be done quick. So first thing we see is that we have to promote our first row as a header, which is a button over here. And then I select all these rows, all these columns, I'm sorry. And I'm going to unpivot them to get them in this format, because this way they're in the format that I want to work with later on. The only thing I have to do now is say this is the date and these are the units. I'm going to change data types of some of the columns. So these three, if we look at the data type, they're all whole numbers. And the data type for the date column, of course, it is date. And that's it for the Power Query part. So now we can move on and create some relationships if we push close and apply here. So now he's going to load all the data, check if he can find some relationships by itself, and put them in memory of the application. But to allow us to win some time, I have already went to the next step. And I also added some of the relationships, because now here you can see this nice model, but not all the relationships were detected automatically. So how do you add relationships? There's a button here, Manage Relationships. You push it, and here you get the list of all the relationships. So for example, I had to add the relationship between sales actuals and brand. And how did I do it? I selected sales actuals here, clicked on the brand key column, selected brand here, brand key column here, and just OK. So that's to show you how it works. I didn't want to lose all the time to add them one by one. There's one more thing that I've added already, and that's on the Data tab. In my Sales Actuals, I added 3 measures. The units for last year, which we can find with this simple DAX formula, the sum of the units for the same period last year, the percentage of the actuals to the targets, again, easiest formula possible, and the only thing is we're gonna apply the percentage format, because this is a percentage, of course. And the third measure that I've added was the difference between the actuals to the targets. And that's just the actuals minus the target. If you want to add a new one, we can add one by saying new measure. Good. When this is done, we can start building some reports. I think this is the best way to continue our demo. Right, let's start very basic. I want to see some units over time. I'm gonna use the clustered column chart. Sales actuals units. And I want to see them over month by month. You can see it's very easy to add. Because we have, I want to show you it's possible to have some interactivity. I'm going to add a second chart here. Middle. Use the percentage. Voila. And if we click on a month now, you can see that the gauge is going to change its value as we expect. Right. If you want to create a second report, it's always possible to copy elements from one report to another. So that's what I'm going to do now. To start my second, I just copied this and pushed Ctrl+C. Open a new report. paste it. The only thing I want to do now is I want to change the visualization to a line chart. Add the units last year. Immediately we can see that there are no values for units last year before January 2014. Okay, let's add some more elements here. For example, bar charts, and again, units last year. But I want to see them, for example, the difference between doctors and specialist doctors, or you can add another chart, this time column chart. Again, units last year. This time maybe I want to use product type. Right. And to finish it off, I want to add a slicer down here. And I'm going to put the year in there. This way you can filter a year, and you can immediately see how all the charts change depending on the slicer here. But it's not only here that you can other charts. Also here, if you click, you immediately see how all the elements are interactive. Okay. For our next report, something completely different. I'm going to start with a map. Okay. For values, I'm gonna use the units again. And this short name. The short name there was a location, and you immediately see where most of the sales take place, and you can see by the size of the circles how many sales are for that region. So you can see, very simple, very fast to create a map chart. So far, I've always used visualizations with colors and charts and everything, but it's also possible to use a matrix or a table. So let's create something with a matrix. I'm gonna use the unit again. I want to know how my sales reps are doing, and maybe a customer. Right. So this way, I have a nice traditional matrix of how my sales rep is doing customer by customer. This is nice, but since we're working in a dashboard environment, maybe it's better to find another visualization that's maybe more suited than just a matrix. I would propose to use the tree map. If you do that here, it's very easy to see which sales rep is doing the best, Tom in this case. And if we hover over a detail, we can see the sales for this customer. So News Corp has a sales amount, a sales unit of 17,042. And personally, I prefer this to the more traditional matrix Okay. For my final report, I'm going to use a line and clustered column chart. So this one here. And I'm going to have the units last year, and from the sales target also the units. I'm going to use the sales target as a line. Okay, not much of a line yet, but if we add the month in calendar, get this. So this way we can combine a line, which can be a target or something else, with some column charts. I can copy this again, copy and paste. Change it to a matrix, because maybe we want to see the actual numbers in an easy overview. The only thing we have here, it would be nice to have a slicer again, so we can filter year by year, which I'm going to do, and add the year key. And we have already an interesting report. There's just one more thing I want to add. That's a waterfall chart. I'm going to use the difference between the actuals and the target. And we have some very interesting interactive charts quickly created with our Power BI desktop. Now that we have come this far, I'm just gonna continue a little bit. We have the publish button here. If I push it, it's gonna say okay, save. And now he's trying to publish it to my personal Power BI portal. I'm hoping the internet is fast enough so we don't have to wait too long. Voila, there we are. Success. Double close. If I go to my personal, this is how the Power BI portal looks like. And we see here where we see the yellow stars. That's the reports that we just created in our Power BI desktop are immediately available online. And the only thing to do if we want to share them with some other people is we have to create a new dashboard, webinar. And then we can choose which visualizations we want to pin to the dashboard. So this one. Map also. Tree map. And I like the waterfall charts. One of my new favorites. And if we go to our webinar dashboard, we can see the fall wasn't minutes. Here it. I'll remove that one. And we can play around a little bit to make it more suited for whatever we want to do. Make some of the elements smaller, other ones bigger, and create something that has a nice look and feel to it. And when we've done this, the only thing we have to do or can do is share our dashboard. For example, here. and the person with that email address receives an invite to view our dashboard. And that's pretty much everything that I wanted to talk about today. I see there's a lot of conversation going on the chat. I'm gonna see if I can find some structure into it, because we're going to the Q&A part now. What do we have? Oh, see, Jan is already answering some of the questions. That's good. What we have? Yep, indeed. PowerBI.com is not SharePoint; it's cloud-based. So there's no link. Oh well, no out-of-the-box link between the dashboards of on the Power BI portal and SharePoint. Yeah, to Dimitri van Doorn, there are some apps on the iOS and Android to use Power BI. Unfortunately, up to now, there is an app for your Windows laptop, but there is no app for the Windows phone yet. But I'm assuming it's coming soon. Data limit. There are, for the free version, there is a data limit. I don't know it on the top of my head, but you can find it on the Power BI website. And for the paying version, the data limit is much higher. See if there are some other questions. Yeah, you can share a dashboard with other users, and they don't have to install Power BI desktop on their computer, because they only go there by using the, for example, Internet Explorer or Google Chrome or whatever. Power BI desktop is just a local application. No, to Adam, not all relationships are limited to one-to-many. There are some options. Let me see if I can show that. Relationships, manage relationships. Never mind. Here we have advanced options, and here you can change the cardinality to one-to-one or one-to-many or many-to-one. And we also have active and inactive relationships as a possibility, and a filter direction in both ways or just one way, which the one-way filter direction used to be the old default one. For Geert Kinders, I think the added value is that you have the easy link to the Power BI portal. And for now, the visualizations in the Power BI desktop are better than the Power View in Excel, but I'm certain they will align them in the future. To Frederick Nozer, I think it's possible, but I'm not a programmer myself, but I've heard some people working on that. To Sergey, no, we cannot share the link to the dashboard to everyone, because you can only share your dashboards with people in the same organizations, sorry. To Tom erover, the Power BI app, it works well. The starting point of the Power BI app, I hope you mean, I think you mean on the telephone. It's the starting point is the dashboard, but you can click a dashboard element and then you open the report. Yeah. Okay, Jan, that's an option. We can publish the PBIX file. This is the file that is generated by the Power BI desktop, and people can browse it live. Yep. To Frederick, I'm not sure. It's something we have to check with somebody on the programming team. Are there any more questions? To Johan van Hooyen, yeah, there are other features also, like the refresh options of your data are more extended. There are some security options you have. You can link to live databases, so we have some extra options in the paying version. To Danny Tran, you don't, well, the Power BI desktop is a standalone application and you don't need any system software apps. You just need an operating system where you can install it. For Jan de Bon, well, I'll publish the PBIX file and then you can check the data size in relation to the number of measures. Yeah, that's true, Jan. Yeah. Yeah, to Frederick Nozer, I believe there is a connector already to, let's see, we have Hadoop files, and I'm quite sure a lot of custom connectors will also be added in the future. So Geert Kinders, yeah, Sam already said it works perfectly under Windows 10. I don't see any more questions popping up, or maybe one more. If we have no more questions, well, okay, maybe this one. Jan de Bond, the data capacity limits counts for publishing, not for the data that's behind it. And to Frederick Nozer, yeah, it's running correctly on VMware virtual machines. No problem so far. Okay, thank you everybody. If you have any more questions, you can always mail info@kohera.be or find another way to contact the Kohera team. Thank you for participating, and we hope to see you next time.